Hello, and welcome to Living Vicariously,
the podcast where we talk about real to real horror.
I'm here, Logan, and I love to watch and talk about horror movies.
And I'm a doll made of bed sheets who saw what you fucking did last night, you perv. McCall, and I like to talk about true crime and murder.
Except this week, we're talking about something different. Well, you are anyway. I'm talking about horror movies.
Yay! It's our special episode.
It's another very special episode brought to you by...
We don't have any sponsors.
We have no sponsors. We're so poor.
We got 2 listeners.
Yeah. We got Mom and someone else.
Some other guy.
Some other third thing.
Anyway,
this week we're having a special episode of Paranormal. Because one thing we realize is that there's a lot of horror movies out there that are like Ghost and that kind of related, like kind of spiritual, demonic kind of stuff.
And I love talking about fucking weird shit.
I know, and we realize McCall not only likes to talk about true crime and murder, she also loves to like research like the paranormal and like cryptids and stuff like that.
Cryptids are so fucking weird.
So we figured we could probably like toss in a couple of those episodes every once in a while. So yeah, it's not going to be mainly. It's going to be the true crime because that's what McCall's.
Technically, mine still deal with true crime.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
I thought that was a pretty cool twofer. So,
well, nice.
I'm just saying.
So we're going to be talking about paranormal stuff. So
Logan, what are you talking about?
Well, I want to talk about our outfits.
Oh, shit. Also, I want to talk about what we're drinking. Because I'm drinking something different this time.
Yes, she is. She finally got something different.
I'm drinking my lovely tequila and lemonade mixture, which is kind of gross, but it's...
Which I poured, which means that it's basically a half and half.
It's ripped. So, I like it. It's good.
McCall's going to be having fun today.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how she's wearing... I love her shirt. Her shirt has... The classic Mean Girls line, is butter a carb on it?
It's my jammy shirt.
Well, I remember I was there when Mom bought it for you for Christmas. I was like, McCall wants
that.
Well, I was like, McCall would like that.
She does.
Because generally, Mom doesn't trust her sense in what you like.
We're very different.
It's very different, but in the end, Mom's been doing a lot better, though.
She's been doing real good.
Like, the last couple of years, she's done really good on the clothes that she picks out for you.
Thanks, Mom. Anyway, I like your look. You got the bandana again.
I got my bandana.
Rosie the Riveter.
Well, again, I didn't do anything for my hair, not even for work today. I was just like, these people are going to get what I give them.
They get what they get.
And then,
but I like the pink shirt.
I got like my little pink shirt that has really nasty armpits. Like, don't even look at them.
Okay, all right.
Well, look at them. Look at them.
Don't look at them. Look at them.
Look at them. Are they gross? They're so nasty.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
I have the worst pits, man. Like, they ruin everything.
Outside.
Well, it's hot outside, and it's also, like, my deodorant's not so good. I mean, it's Old Spice, but, like, I still sweat like a pig, and they ruin my shirts. So it's like...
So what are you going to do? Really?
I don't know.
Anyway.
We are talking about paranormal stuff today. Paranorman, which is a good movie. That's a good movie. I'm not going to talk about that movie, but it's a good movie. What I am talking about is I'm going to talk about the movie Poltergeist.
Take us away, Penny.
It's like, I love this movie. This is a really fun movie. It was made in 1982, came out in 1982. It was directed by Tobe Hooper, who, it actually is funny because I actually never mentioned back when we did it who directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, shit.
But it was Tobe Hooper.
Tobe Hooper?
Yep.
He's doing great.
And Steven Spielberg produced it.
Okay.
And it's got heavy influences of Steven Spielberg in here. Well, it's funny because there's a lot of controversy over how much Tobe Hooper actually had to say over the direction.
Aww.
No, it's because, oh my gosh, it's so funny. A quote from Zelda Rubinstein, the one who played Tangina, the psychic. They were like, she was in an interview and they asked her like, who had more creative influence over this movie, Tobe or Steven? And she said, and I quote, Tobe couldn't direct traffic.
Ow.
Like, damn.
I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre based on what you told me about it.
I was going to say, like, you've seen it?
I haven't seen it, but it sounds great.
Excellent. Well, it's got a lot of people in it, and none of these people are particularly well known, or were well known at the time. And there was a purpose for that, because Steven Spielberg wanted to cast fairly unknown actors because he wanted them to be relatable. because he figured if he put too many like big names in there, they wouldn't be people. You know, they wouldn't like. Whereas if he had like,
they'd be, you know,
they'd be
the star.
They'd be the star. They'd be like, oh, I'm here to see whoever the big star in 1982 was. You know, it's like rather than I'm here to watch the story of this family. So we cast fairly unknown people, but they were all really good. Like Carol Ann, the young girl, was played by Heather O'Rourke. Stephen, their last names are all Freeling, but I just I left them out.
Okay.
But Craig T. Nelson plays Stephen. Diane is played by Jo Beth Williams. Dana is played by Dominique Dunn. Robbie is Oliver Robbins. Dr. Lesh is played by Beatrice Straight. Ryan is played by Richard Lawson. Marty is played by Martin Casella. And Tangina is played by Zelda Rubinstein, who I already mentioned.
Zelda.
I love that name. I love her.
It's a very medium name.
Well,
I know that's not her.
Well, then there's a lot of other people in the movie, but they have smaller parts. So I decided to just pretty much just include the family and then the paranormal investigators who come to help them. It was nominated for 3 Oscars. It was nominated for Best Visuals, like Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, and Best Score. And it's funny because it's like it was up against, for a lot of those awards, it was up against Steven Spielberg's other film, E.T.
Oh, God.
And it lost to all of them.
The other horror movie.
Yeah. But it was actually the highest grossing film.
Movie.
No, it was the highest grossing film in 1982, if I remember correctly.
Poltergeist or E.T.?
Poltergeist.
Oh,
I read it. Yeah, when I read the things. It's a really great movie. I very much enjoyed watching it as many times as I did. I watched it like 3 times just to like kind of catch every little thing. There's not a lot of trivia for this one, so I want to save them for when they come up. So I'm going to start out with I'm just going to start with the opening. Well, it opens with it like comes into the house. Well, actually, it starts out with way back when. Before now, I feel like now it's like TV's running all the time.
Yeah.
But for a long time, like channels would just sign off and then it'd just be static forever. It starts off with like that playing where it's like usually they play like the national anthem and then they're like sign off and then it's just static. So it starts off with the national anthem and then static and it zooms out and the dad is sitting in a chair and the static's happening and it zooms up and it goes to the dog, E-Buzz.
E-Buzz.
He's a good little either golden retriever or lab and I love him. Best part of the movie and the best part is that and the best part is he lives through the whole movie.
Oh,
yes.
Geez.
There's actually only one casualty in this whole movie.
Ooh.
So E-Buzz goes and it's a way of like kind of showing all the characters without like having like an awkward scene at the very beginning where it's like he literally wakes up and then the dog goes into everyone's room to kind of show like these are all the members of the family. Mm-hmm. And it's like he goes into Dana's room, who's the oldest daughter, and she has chips in her bed, so he takes the chips and eats them because he's a good boy and he deserves them.
He deserves those chips.
And then
eat them.
They show Dana, they show Steven, they show Diane, and then they show first of all, it's gonna get really confusing for me because Dana and Diane, I literally
that's too close.
Yeah, I was like, I might trip those up every once in a while, and then it goes to the kids, it goes to Robbie, and then the youngest, Carol Ann, and Carol Ann wakes up and she goes downstairs and starts talking to the TV.
Oh God.
Yep, it's and like I don't know, I liked this little girl. She actually failed her first audition.
Oh.
Because she kept laughing through the scenes where she was supposed to be scared.
Oh.
And but then Steven saw that there was something really interesting about her, and he wanted to keep going with her. So he had her come back with another audition. He had her bring a scary storybook to read, and then he made her scream. He asked her to scream, and she screamed and screamed and screamed until she started crying, and that got her the audition.
Jeez.
So that got her the part.
Shit.
Who was the woman there's a fairly well-known actress who I'm totally blanking against who she was. Who was the girl who played the main girl in E.T.?
I have no idea.
Oh my God, the young girl. Oh my gosh, she's a well-known actress. I'm totally blanking on that piece of trivia. Because the other person up for the role
was the girl who was in E.T.?
Yes, was the girl who in E.T.
Honestly.
And I'm totally blanking. She's a really well-known name, and I'm like...
I've watched E.T. once, and it was horrible.
Same. I was not a huge fan of it. Drew Barrymore.
Oh, shit,
yep,
really?
Drew Barrymore.
I didn't know that was Drew Barrymore.
Yep, Drew Barrymore was up for the role. He liked Drew Barrymore, but... he wanted a girl who he called more Steven Spielberg when he was casting it wanted a girl who was more angelic looking, and she did the girl Heather O'Rourke did have a very angelic look where she had that beautiful, like, platinum blonde hair. It was just so straight, and she had this cute little face. Like, she looked like a little cherub. You just wanted to pinch her cheeks. So it was like, I understand.
She talks to
but,
the TV.
But the plus side to Drew Barrymore not getting that role is that she actually got it for E.T. Like, in that, so like she auditioned for Poltergeist, but then got the role for E.T.
Okay, cool.
So
it worked out.
Things worked out. And now, well, it's Drew Barrymore's here, and where's Heather? She's actually dead. So.
Oh, no!
Mm-hmm.
Heather!
Yeah, Heather O'Rourke and Dominique Dunn are both dead.
Fuck.
Dominique Dunn was actually strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend.
Jesus!
After the movie was, in October.
After the movie?
Well, in October, after by her ex-boyfriend.
What the fuck?
Yep, and then Heather O'Rourke died from intestinal something or other.
Oh, no.
Yeah, about 6 years later.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
she was
still fairly
a
young.
teenager?
Just barely.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she was still, so they both died.
That's a bummer.
And then another person died who was in the movie. One of the other characters, he was actually killed with an axe.
What the fuck?
There's actually a big controversy that this movie's cursed. And that curse actually comes from something later in the movie that I'll talk about. They're also buried in the same cemetery.
Aww.
Heather and Dominique are both buried in the same cemetery.
Fuck, dude.
But anyway, so she's talking to the TV, and the whole family walks down and watches her talk to the TV.
Like, look at this fucking weirdo.
And they're like, oh my goodness.
Oh, our child.
One of the scenes I think is funny is, well, not funny, but like it's kind of sad because their bird dies. And that's the only casualty in the whole movie is the bird. The bird dies. And the mom comes up to she looks at the cage and she's like, Tweety? Tweety?
They named their fucking bird Tweety.
Yeah, Tweety. And they walk up to she walks up to the thing, she looks at the ground, and it's like lying on the floor of the cage, and she goes, oh, shit, Tweety. Couldn't you have waited until a school day?
Jeez.
Oh, she was funny. No, the delivery is hilarious. And then,
Oh, Tweety.
okay, then she goes to flush the bird.
No.
I'm like,
that's not how you dispose of a bird.
Exactly. I'm like,
that's
what?
for fish, Mom.
But as she's going to flush the bird, Carol Ann finds her trying to flush the bird.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. And then they end up putting the bird in a little shoebox.
Which is what you do.
Yep. And it was really sad, too, because they put him in the shoebox, and Carol Ann's like, she gives him all these things. She's like, he doesn't like the smell in there. Put a flower in there. And then she puts the flower in. And then she goes, for when he's hungry, and she puts a piece of licorice in. She's like, for when he's lonely, and she puts a picture of Robbie and Carol Ann and the E-Buzz in the car, or in the box. And then she goes, and for when it's nighttime, and then puts a little blanket over the top of him. So it was really cute.
Oh, poor Tweety.
And sad.
It's sad.
And so they bury him, and then of course Robbie's climbing up the scariest fucking tree I have ever seen in my life.
The one that's evil?
An evil tree. Oh, speaking of which, the evil tree and the evil clown in this movie are both based off of Steven Spielberg's actual fears, which are clowns, and the tree. Well, and the tree from the house that he grew up in.
What?
Mm-hmm. He was terrified of both of those things, and so he gave them both to Robbie.
Well, clowns are fucking scary.
Oh, they are. They're straight up.
We can all agree that's nightmare fuel.
I do not like clowns.
No one does.
I don't understand why clowns are actually still around.
They're not. They're just evil beings from hell. Who've clawed their way up.
They exist in
with
a
their
different
makeup faces.
In like another realm.
I exclusively serial killers or demons. That's all I can think of.
I don't like it. So he's climbing up the tree, and when they're burying him, he yells down. Robbie yells down, "Hey, can we dig it up and see the bones?"
Wow.
I'm like, oh God, Robbie.
That's like when our fish died, and you were really sad,
I was
and you
so
were
sad.
crying, and I was like, "Can I flush it?"
Oh my God, you're such a POS.
I'm sorry. I wanted to see it go down.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Gil.
Was it Gil or Gil 2?
We're very clever people with our names.
Yeah. Gil 2 was especially good.
Mm-hmm. But so then it keeps going, and one of my other favorite parts of the movie is when they're talking, it's late in the night, the kids are going to bed, and Diane and Steven are awake, smoking weed in their bed.
What up?
And I'm like, I was watching this, and I'm like, this is my future.
What is happening?
I was like, I'm watching
these parents.
My future. Anyway, so They're smoking weed. They're having a good time.
Having a real fun time.
And they're scared of there's a lightning storm going on, and Robbie's scared of it, and so...
He gets in the bed with his weed... Oh, God, I can't talk. It's done. All right.
They do eventually, like, the dad tries to calm him down.
High as hell.
Blitzed as shit.
Shit, that'd be hard.
Robbie.
But whatever your fucking name is.
You.
Kid. Get me chips.
Son. Get me chips,
You know
and I will
what'll
put
make you feel
to bed.
better? If you get me some chips.
If you go down to the cupboard, we got some bugles. I'm gonna put them on my hand.
I'm gonna eat them. You're gonna watch and you're gonna laugh because I'm gonna laugh.
And you're gonna have to help me take them off. So the dad tries to put the kid down and go to bed, and it doesn't work because lightning happens and thunder happens, and the next thing you know, it cuts to them all in the bed together. Like the Carol Ann, Robbie, Steve, and Diane are all in bed together.
All that weed smoke.
Exactly. And they're hotboxing together.
And those kids are gone.
But so then the TV turns to static again, and Carol Ann starts to talk to it. And there's this
Creepy.
beam of just like spectral energy that just shoots into the wall, and it creates like an earthquake in the house. And then we get the iconic line, "They're here."
Ew.
And it's crazy how the girl can look so cute and cherubic, but also be so creepy.
So ick. If my kid did that, I'd be like, that's it, you're grounded. That's what you get.
You're grounded for speaking. It's
Don't
done.
be weird, you freaky little...
Oh my god! So...
So that little girl looks creepy.
Yeah, so the girl... The girl is creepy. But she does really well at the whole part, and they were concerned that she wasn't even going to be able to do it, you know?
Yeah, she's laughing.
Because she was so young. Steven Spielberg thought that she wasn't actually going to be able to do it,
How
you know?
old is she?
At the time, I can't remember.
She looks like
And
5,
she had to be like
6.
5 or 6. Yeah, I was like, she couldn't have been
Just
too
pretty
old.
young for acting.
So throughout the next day, just weird things keep happening where it's like glass shatters on its own, forks and spoons get bent.
Is that when the chairs do that thing?
Yes, I was gonna say that's actually one of my favorite cinematography. It's a great moment. It's a good moment. Very
Iconic.
Yes, it's iconic. Well, it's all done in one take, too.
That's cool.
Like, it's all a continuous shot. So, like, Diane walks around the countertop, goes down, the camera follows her, she pops back up, and the chairs are all neatly stacked on top of the table.
Which is an actual for real sign of poltergeists.
Chair stacking?
Or furniture moving.
Furniture moving?
Like, for realsies. In the real... If you believe in that kind of thing, which I do.
I do not.
And Lowen doesn't, so if your chairs move, then you're fine.
Well, here's my thing. I don't believe in these things until I see them. If I witness something happen, I would believe.
Okay.
But until this point, I've only seen crappy ghost adventures and stuff like that.
Did you hear that?
Did you hear that?
Did you hear that?
I am soiling myself right now. I am so scared.
So that's great.
Exactly. So I don't necessarily believe in them, but if I see something, I will believe it.
Okay. So the chairs stack.
The chairs stack, and it's actually really cool. I was reading about how they did it, and they actually had it all pre-stacked.
Cool.
So the crew members, like, the camera went down, the crew members had to silently go in, take the chairs off, take the silverware off, and put the pre-stacked chairs on top, all in one. It was like they had like 0.5 seconds to do it.
That's pretty cool.
It's very well done.
Do you know how actually fucking scary that would be too?
Oh, terrifying.
If you were like, you look away and then you turn back and everything's like on top of the table.
Yeah, the next thing you know, everything is... Oh, God.
I would just turn around. I'd be like, I'm gone and I'm out. I'm leaving. Thank you.
Later that night, that creepy-ass tree decides it's time.
It's time to live.
And he busts through the window and grabs Robbie.
The child.
The boy child.
The boy child.
The elder male.
The elder male.
And he tries to, the tree tries to eat him.
Ah.
So the family goes outside to try and save Robbie. Meanwhile, back in the room, they leave Carol Ann, who stays in there, doesn't go with the rest of the family. And she ends up getting sucked into the closet and kidnapped by the ghosts. The thing about that is, though, that was the one scene, out of the whole things that happened in the movie, that was the one thing that scared Heather O'Rourke the most.
Their closet?
Yeah, she had to hold on to the headboard and get, like, there was, like, wind turbines blowing around, like, knocking all the toys over and everything. That was the one thing that scared her, and she screamed and cried so hard that they had to stop the scene, and Steven Spielberg held her in his arms and promised her that she never had to do that scene again.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So I guess I'm guessing that scene just went in one take then.
Yeah.
Because it scared her so bad. But of all the other things that happened in the movie, that was the one thing that scared her, so. Tough kid. But anyway, so they're outside trying to save Robbie, and Carol Ann gets sucked into the closet and kidnapped by the ghosts. They come back inside and hear her voice through the static on the TV. And the kid, Robbie is the first one to hear her, and he just, like, they're both, him and Diane's faces are illuminated by the TV, so it's like you just kind of see the silhouettes of their faces, and Robbie's like talking to her, and all I can see are his buck teeth. He just has like these 2 buck teeth. Good. And I'm just like, nerd. Nerd. So they eventually contact some psychotherapist, ghost hunter-y type people to come to their house and help them out.
Get their daughter out of the TV.
And it consists of Dr. Lesh, Ryan, and Marty. Like they all come to the house and help them. They videotape them and they witness a lot of weird phenomena. And that's actually, I'm trying to keep it general because I really, like, the more I listen to a lot of my portions, I go too in depth with a lot of things that happen. And I really, really want people to watch these movies.
Fair.
So it's like, I'm trying to keep these a little more general, but I'll talk about things I like. Like, I'll talk about scenes and moments that I like. But in terms of the general story, I'm still going to try and keep it pretty general.
Okay.
So they have a whole bunch of weird phenomena happen around the house. One of the funnier parts is when they're taking them for the very first time through the house. They're talking about, Lesh is like, Marty caught some great footage the other day. And Marty's like, yeah, this toy moved 0.8 centimeters across the floor without anyone touching it.
Oh, Marty.
He's like, it lasted about 30 seconds, but it's great footage. And Steven just goes, and opens the door, and it's just like a tornado of just like things flying around in their room, in the kids' room.
Good.
And the next scene is like Dr. Lesh is like shaking when she's like trying to drink some tea. She's so scared.
Why is the family not moving out? Oh wait, their daughter. The daughter. I forgot about her.
They're just gonna leave that.
Just leave Carol Ann. Who the fuck cares?
Well, in the original script for the movie, Carol Ann actually died.
Jeez.
Well, in the script, the script is that in the original script, she was the one. She died, and then in the first act, haunted the house, and that's the second act. But they decided that that's a little too dark.
That's too dark.
Yep.
That's too much.
And they really wanted a PG rating, because when this movie first came out, it got an R rating, but then they fought it down to get a PG.
Okay.
Because this is the 80s.
Yeah.
And PG-13 didn't exist.
Yeah.
I think nowadays it would have probably gotten a PG-13.
Probably.
It's like, it's still pretty tame.
It's...
Like, I would let Maya watch that.
The only thing that's got, like, gore is when he rips his face off.
Yes, that's the only kind of...
And then that's it. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot. I've never seen the movie.
Which is actually one of the phenomena I was going to talk about, is they have, like, this moment where... I remember I talked about it in the Alien episode where it's just, like, real head converts to fake head.
Yes.
There's another one of those moments in this one where it's, like, real head, and then it converts to, like, this obviously fake head that just gets torn apart by these hands.
I love it.
It's funny because the hands aren't even his hands. The hands are Steven Spielberg's hands ripping the face apart.
God.
I think that's funny.
I've seen the GIF. Whenever you see the GIF of something without the actual context of the movie, it looks so comical. And then you
it's still comical.
And then you watch the movie and you're like, oh, that's actually kind of creepy.
Or like, you know, at the time I would have been like, wow, this would have been scary in 1982.
I've seen the clown scene.
Oh,
really.
That thing still scares the crap out of me.
I've seen the clown scene, and then I've seen a GIF of the clown scene, and it's hilarious. But the actual clown scene scared the fuck out of me.
Oh my god, terrifying.
I don't like it. As we've mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So later on, during this whole thing, Steve actually takes off work to deal with this and try to get Carol Ann back.
Yeah.
So then his employer comes out and tries to convince him to come back, and through their exchange, he finds out that their house was built, that the whole development that their place was built on, because he's a real estate agent that works for this company that's been selling all these homes, is actually built on a graveyard. It's built in a cemetery. It's built in a cemetery, and the guy is like, he's like, well, we relocated the cemetery, so it should be just fine. And it's like, okay, whatever. So then he, like, things happen. Like, basically, Steven's okay. Like, he's like, fine.
Fine.
So Lesh and Ryan stay to help. Or, sorry, Ryan leaves. Lesh stays, and along with Marty. But Ryan's like, I'm done. After watching his face get peeled like an orange, he's done.
You know, yeah, that would really deter me too.
Honestly, that'd freak me out too.
Yeah.
But he leaves, and then they come back and bring Tangina. Zelda Rubinstein. And she, honestly, is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. And she filmed her whole, like, all of her scenes were filmed in 6 days.
Nice.
But she has some really great lines. Like, she opens in and goes, would y'all mind standing back? You're jamming my frequencies. And I was just like, yes.
I already love her.
What to do. And then another one that's great is, like, at one point Steven's, like, mocking her by trying to, like, communicate with her through his brain. He's like he's like, I was talking to her with my mind and she couldn't hear me. And he's like, I thought that you said she was supposed to be some great psychic. And she walks out and she goes, I am. I just don't like tricky answers. In that beautiful, like, Georgia honey.
Georgia
drawl. Where it's like my sweet molasses. And less like some of the heck. Like, it's just like she grew up in a nice little home. Home. I couldn't think of like a nice
Anything
estate.
Else?
A nice estate.
I like her.
In Georgia. Anyway, so she kind of goes on this tangent about how this is like one of her big monologues. She like talks about, she's like, there is no death. There is only a shift in consciousness. And people will get stuck on their way to the light. And Carol Ann being in there, she's a life force, and she has a very strong life force, and so it emits its own light. So the ghosts aren't going to the real light. They're following Carol Ann. And then there's an evil entity known as the Beast that's holding Carol Ann with him because he can control the other ghosts by controlling her. So they are like. So then Tangina has one of the most badass lines in the whole movie. Like when she's done explaining all this, she goes, "Now let's go get your daughter." And so then they figure out that there's a split in dimensions that starts in the children's closet and then drops out in like the main hallway. So they manage to get a rope through there. Tangina's gonna go in. She's like, I'm going in after her.
Oh my god.
And Diane's like, why? She won't come to you.
She's not her mom.
And she's like, let me go. And Tangina's just like, you've never done this before. And Diane goes, neither of you.
That's fair.
And then Tangina looks at her for a second and just goes, you're right. You go.
You go. You do it. Fine.
So she manages to go in and get Carol Ann.
Yay.
Despite Steven not necessarily listening to Tangina and trying to pull Diane back before she was ready.
Yeah.
And that kind of, like, the Beast comes out and scares him. Like, it's like a giant skeleton face kind of yells at him.
Hey! God!
Hey! Buddy!
This is my house.
What's funny is Zelda, she, like, backs up because she's telling everyone... Once Diane has Carol Ann, she's supposed to, go into the other... Like, follow the rope. But keep following the rope.
Yeah.
And once she has Carol Ann, Carol Ann's light is gone, so she's telling the other ghosts to move on. And so,
get the hell out of here.
Again, she has Zelda has most of the iconic lines in this movie, other than Carol Ann. Mm-hmm. But she goes, "Cross over, children, all are welcome.
Oh my god,
all are welcome."
Great.
I know, I love it.
If I was a ghost, I'd be like, what the hell's going on?
So, but Diane managed to get Carol Ann. They drop through the screen, and they're like covered in like goop, strawberry jelly looking stuff. And they take him to the bathtub. Diane wakes up. And what's funny is so they're both like sitting in the bathtub like unconscious. And then finally finally Diane goes and like kind of comes back to life. And then the whole time you can see like Carol Ann like trying to keep her eyes shut.
Oh my gosh!
Like she's shaking her eyes like she's trying to keep them shut. And because she's a child.
Yeah.
But she's doing her best, and then she wakes up.
She's doing her best.
She wakes up, and she's like, hi, Mommy.
Aww.
And then Tangina comes out, and they're, like, videotaping her. And her hair is all kinds of messed up. It was, like, in this beehive, and it's all messed up. She, like, straightens a couple of, like, the flyaways, and she goes, this house is clean.
Oh my god.
I love it. So then they decide they're going to move. They're going to get the hell out. So
Smart.
they're trying to move. Dana goes off to stay at a friend's house. Steven goes to quit his job so that he can move out, leaving Diane, Robbie, and Carol Ann at home.
Why can't they just, like, hang out at a McDonald's for a while?
I have no idea.
Like, I would just be like, no, we're just gonna get a motel.
But so then, well, that's their plan, is to go to a hotel eventually. But first,
Yeah.
Steve has to quit his job, and Dana insists that she can't stay there anymore, and she has to
She's
go
a smart
somewhere
girl.
else. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Dana.
So, so the Beast ambushes Diane and the kids, and like starts to tries to take the kids, and then like is incapacitating Diane and trying to get her to stay out. And at one point, he like lifts her up onto the ceiling. And it's really cool. The way that they did that is they actually had a stationary camera, and the room itself actually rotated.
Oh, shit.
So it looked like she was going up on the ceiling, and really the whole bedroom was just kind of shifting. So it's a really cool like kind of thing that they did to get that effect. And he eventually knocks her down the stairs. He actually eventually sends her outside. Like, he kicks her outside. And then they're building a pool in their backyard, and she falls into the pool. It's raining out, so the pool is filling with water. And so she falls in the pool, she emerges from the water, and right next to her, a skull emerges. And then she freaks out, and all of a sudden, all these bodies start to pop up around her.
No.
Quick fun fact, all those bodies were real human skeletons.
Ha,
Like,
no.
they were not fake. They were
if
not
I was that
props.
actress, I'd be like, could we get some plastic skeletons
She
in
didn't
here?
know.
Fuck that.
She did not know.
Fuck that.
Oh, also, Robbie gets attacked by the clown doll.
Yes.
And it's like strangling him.
I don't
and,
like it.
Well, and the way that the doll was made and it was strangling him, it actually started to strangle Robbie. And he like started like saying like, I can't breathe. And Steven Spielberg just thought he was improvising.
real.
And he didn't know until his face, he like came up and his face was purple. And Steven Spielberg rushed on set and like took the thing off. Diane's trying to get out of the pool where all these bodies are and run upstairs. But she managed to get out of the pool, and she runs to the house, and she's like, I love it. One of the things I love about this movie the most is how, like, these people love each other, and they really care about each other, especially the parents. The parents are, like, they're... Like, she's running down the hallway, and she's like, you stay away from my babies! And she's, like, running, and she, like, gives everything to try and save them. She manages to pull them out of the bedroom where they're getting sucked into this portal again.
Closet.
Well, the portal in the closet, it looks inappropriate. Let's just say that. Like, not like only when you go back and watch it and like
when you're the third time watching it and you're like, fuck, I know what that is.
That looks like a hole to some other place. So she manages to pull them out and try to escape, and Steven comes back with his boss. And they're like, he sees all the commotion in the house. There's like lights flashing and everything.
Steven.
And he runs in the house, and like they get cut off because all of a sudden a coffin shoots up out of the ground and like cuts them off. And like that's when all these coffins just start popping up all over the yard and stuff like that, just getting taken out of the ground. And that's when Steven realizes his boss said he moved the cemetery. He didn't move the cemetery. He only moved the headstones, not the bodies.
Douche.
Yep. He's like yelling at his boss. He's like, you sick bastard, you moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies.
No.
And so they managed to all get out of the house, and they start driving to a hotel.
Anywhere else.
And like the whole neighborhood just starts going, like fire hydrants exploding, flamethrowers going off, like
flamethrowers going
off.
off.
Like flames
all
shooting
of the
out.
flamethrowers that these people have in their homes.
There's flames. No, there's flames shooting out of the grounds. Flames on the side of my face. And they drive off, and then a final like very iconic scene is when the house gets sucked into the dimension, and it's really cool. And I actually would like to know how they managed to do that. Like that was it's a really cool scene, especially for like 1982. I'm like, I was very interested to see like what they did, you know?
I think I could watch that movie. I feel like I could handle it.
Oh, you could definitely handle this movie. So then they go to the hotel, a Holiday Inn. They all walk in the house and they all just look like dead. Oh, by the way, Dana did come home just in time to see the house get sucked in, and she went off with the rest of the family.
She's like, oh, okay, good.
So they go into the Holiday Inn, and they all shut the door, and then all of a sudden the door opens again, and Steven comes and pushes out the TV, and then shuts the door again.
I guess I wouldn't like TVs after that.
Exactly, and then it zooms out, And that's the end.
And the end.
It's a really good movie. I want to see if I have any more trivia for you. I think I said all of mine. I lied. So when Diane fell into the pool, she was scared to do that because there was a lot of like lights and electrical equipment above there, so she was afraid to get in the pool.
And there are a bunch of actual human dead bodies in the pool, yeah.
She didn't know that. She didn't know that they were real dead bodies. So, to make her feel better, Steven Spielberg actually got in the pool with her and said, so if you die, we both will die.
So that's cool.
And that it worked. She got in the she got in the tub. Or not the tub, she got in the thing.
Get in the tent.
Oh my god. Woo!
Woo!
Let's see. I'm just saying. Oh, at one point there's this weird jump cut that happens at the very beginning of the movie when they're in the kitchen, like when she's explaining to Steven how the ghost's pushing you across the floor, you know. And she's like explaining it, and all of a sudden it like cuts her off in the middle of her sentence and jumps to the next scene.
Weird.
And the reason for that was because apparently at some point in the movie, or in that scene, Steven said that he doesn't like Pizza Hut. And Pizza Hut was one of the sponsors.
Pissed.
And they were pissed. And so Steven Spielberg crudely cut that one part out.
Weird.
But that's the only piece of trivia I have left. This was a great movie.
Except for that Pizza Hut line.
Except for that damn Pizza Hut line. But I very much enjoy this movie. It's very Steven Spielberg, so I think even though it's a horror movie, it's a very, I think, family-friendly horror movie. Like, would I, like, let a 6-year-old watch it?
Maybe
Probably
no.
not. But, like, would I let Maya watch it? Yeah.
That's our cousin.
12 plus.
Maybe you would rate it maybe PG-13?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Shut up. Yeah, but that is Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. All right. Well, since it's our spooky, spoopy, haunted episode.
She forgot the word paranormal.
Paranormal episode. I'm going to be talking about an amalgamation of things.
She's going to talk about many things.
Many things.
She has approximate knowledge of many
things.
More.
I'll have more. And more. Logan's going to get more drinks, so I'm just going to belly up to the microphone real quick. And I will start with my first story. My little vignette.
My first tale of terror.
My tale of terror is, oh god, damn that ice is loud. Cropsy. Have you ever heard of Cropsy?
Cropsy?
Cropsy.
Like Topsy the elephant?
Like Topsy the elephant, except for it's scary. Well, I guess Topsy thought it was scary.
Topsy the elephant, except for not at all.
Except for not about electrocuting an elephant. Okay, so my sources for the Cropsy story are a website called www.cropsylegend.com. It's about a documentary written by Joshua Zeman, and then a documentary called Unforgotten, 25 Years After Middlebrook. And I feel like something else, maybe Wikipedia. I didn't write it down, so it's probably Wikipedia.
Wiki.
So we're gonna fade in to a little mental institution called Willowbrook.
Called what?
Willowbrook.
Willowbrook. I thought you were saying Willoughby.
Wildebeest Medical Institution. No, Willowbrook, which is a horrible, horrible place where
It sounds so nice.
it sounds so pretty. But it's so this is set in like New York, Staten Island. It's a medical institution that's kind of, they set it all, it's a medical institution for mental patients, obviously, but it's all like in the middle of the forest, kind of. I don't know how to explain it. Literally, there's a forest around the whole mental institution.
Okay.
Which is weird, but kind of cool.
I mean, yeah, I can see that.
That's kind of peaceful, most people would think. But it's also hellish because it's for, like everyone of all ages is allowed to be there. So
I love how allowed. They're permitted.
Can be checked in, I guess. So, I mean, this is kind of, I think this was like around the 70s when this institution came. Maybe earlier than the 70s, and then it closed around... It was closed in 1987. So I don't remember when it opened, but it was kind of that time period where you had all of these people who needed to be admitted somewhere for care, but they also really didn't have any regulations or idea of what to do with these people.
Do some cocaine about it.
So this medical institution was made. You can put children in here. You could put, adults, obviously.
Carol Ann would be in there.
Carol Ann talking to the TV. So these families would put their children in there, and they didn't know, because you'd go in for visiting hours, is what the documentary I watched on the people who put their children in there. They obviously had no idea that it was bad, like that bad. They did say one of the families were like, it smelled like feces when you walked in.
Oh my God.
But they were like, but I thought it's full of children who have problems. I just assumed that that's kind of a normal issue that would come up. So they were like, I mean,
pooping happens.
But like they spent time with their children. They didn't see any horrible stuff because they were kind of regulated to a small area. But the reality of the hospital was it smelled horrible. At one point, there was a reporter who went in and made like a whole video on the hospital, and he's like, I can show you. This isn't a direct quote because I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he said, I could show you the images and you can hear the sounds, but I cannot communicate how horrible that smell was. And he was like breaking up crying when he said it. So it must have just been hellish.
Oh, but, yeah, like, I'm sure the thought going through his head was that these poor kids
poor children. So the hospital was supposed to have like a ratio of 4-to-1 of patients to staff. So 4 patients to 1 staff member. It had around 30 patients to 1 staff member.
Oh, Jesus.
So the staff was just overrun.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of don't want to blame them, other than, I mean, they had horrible treatment. It's kind of shit. But what were they supposed to do? They were hired to help. They helped as much as they could for one person, you know? So, and you don't want to, if you're working there and you're doing a good job, you don't want to quit and leave them with like shit other people and leave less workers around. I don't know. But it was not enough people. Like, they needed way more doctors and nurses there. They had like, they were supposed to be given like 30 minutes of like food, like a dinner time. They were given like 2 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Because they didn't have time, and they were just like, fuck it, just eat, god damn it. A lot of patients weren't able to feed themselves, but there wasn't enough staff member to feed them. So there was just a lot of issues with patients like eating off of the floor and not being able to eat, and like a lot of problems. There were crazy outbreaks of hepatitis and parasites, because so what they would do, what it looks like in the footage I watched, is it was just it was a small room, and they would just huddle a bunch of children. They would just stuff a room full of children, and then they'd be like, okay, cool, we got other shit to do because we're really understaffed, so you guys just do your own thing. So it's a bunch of children who should not be in an overstimulated environment in a room with a bunch of other children who are freaking out. And so, I mean, they're huddled in small rooms. Some of them aren't wearing clothing. There's a lot of like parasites and diseases going around. Some kids would sit naked on the floor and no one was there to dress them. They couldn't do it themselves. So the journalist who made the documentary was called Geraldo Rivera.
Oh, yeah, Geraldo?
Yeah. So he made the documentary, and he showed the conditions. Like, look at this. It was shots of these children sitting in this room. There was just horrible stuff. Like, they just weren't, it wasn't good treatment. And he was obviously, in the documentary that I watched, very upset. In 1987...
The mustache.
God, what's his...
Heavy is the weight of the man who has the mustache.
The mustache. Okay, not John F. Kennedy, but his brother, Robert F. Kennedy? I don't remember. He closed it. I don't know. He had like an interview where he went in there and was like, holy shit! No! We're closing it! Jesus Christ! So he closed it.
He's like, what the hell are you people doing?
Motherfucker! So, also, really cool, weird, creepy thing about the hospital, there's a series of tunnels underneath it. As if some horror movie writer was like, cool, we're gonna build this real life hospital and we're gonna make it terrifying.
We're gonna pump it up to an 11.
We're gonna give it a really scary backstory of a lot of suffering, and we're just gonna fill it full of scary avenues. Don't read my notes. God dang. Okay.
I'm sorry, I am bad at reading McCall's notes. I read them a lot.
All the time.
Mostly because I like to make fun of her for her spelling, but also because I'm a notorious reader. Like, ever since my dad would read us Harry Potter and Terra and the Wanderer and Chronicles of Narnia, and every time I would read ahead.
And I was asleep.
That's why eventually I just started reading them on my own because I was like, Dad,
I just want to know what happens.
And McCall's not paying attention
McCall's
anyway.
asleep. Okay. So, they close the hospital. And then, you know, adults do that thing where they make up stuff to scare little kids from not doing stuff. So they're like, don't be bad, or the escaped mental patient's gonna come and kill you.
What?
He's got a hook for a hand, and his name's Cropsy, and he's mentally deranged, and he's gonna fuck you up. And the kids are like,
Cropsy.
what the fuck? Mom and Dad, that's kind of scary.
Oh, quick sidebar. I love how, like, Mom and Dad were like, Logan, when you make this, you really have to, like, watch your swearing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? McCall swears infinitely more than I do during the podcast.
I am much worse. I'm sorry.
You literally just dropped the F-bomb 3 times in one sentence.
I didn't even hear it. I understand that it bothers them, but it's just me being Miley, man.
I'll just be a Miley.
Jeez.
This is me. This is me now.
This is me now. Okay, so they start this rumor of Cropsy, who's a person who steals children.
What a
has
name.
A hook for a hand.
Cropsy.
I don't know where Cropsy actually came from. But also, the hook for the hand thing is kind of...
Chernobyl coleslaw.
Chernobyl coleslaw.
It's probably short for something like that.
Okay, when I was little, I had this nightmare about this monkey boy attacking me, and I told my family about it, and they thought
God.
it was funny as hell. So...
Well, the thing that was funny about it was the fact that you kept changing your story.
So, to make it scarier, because no one thought it was scary, I added that the monkey boy had a skeleton hand, and then...
That did not make it scary.
It did not make it scary. It made it funnier, and everyone made fun of me. So this is what I feel like Cropsy is they were like, mental patient, deranged, kills children, has a hook for a hand?
Scary?
Scary now?
Captain Hook?
Yikes. So, fun fact, he actually turned out to be kind of real.
Oh, fuck.
Which is not fun at all and very scary. So...
Monkey Boy's real?
Monkey Boy's real. So, he didn't have a hook for a hand, but, I mean, people said he
had a hook
wielded...
for a penis.
They said he wielded an axe.
Wouldn't that be terrible?
Oh my god. So, here's the actual stuff that the actual Cropsy did, whose name is Andre Rand. Andre Rand.
I would say Andre.
Andre?
You white bitch.
I'm sorry. So, he was convicted of kidnapping 2 children, and he is a suspected serial killer.
Okay.
He is serving 25 years to life in prison, and he was in the actual documentary that is named documentary that is called Cropsy. So there's a documentary out there called Cropsy. He was a custodian.
Is it called Cropsy?
Yeah, it's called Cropsy. Fuck off. So he's actually a custodian who worked at Willowbrook, like when the school was in full horrible.
So he's Freddy Krueger.
So he's pretty much like, I'm sure that he was just torturing kids way before they found out he was kidnapping kids. Like,
what was the smell? You never actually mentioned what the smell was. Were they just shitting all over the place?
It was just like feces, vomit. They weren't cleaning. They also didn't. A lot of the people who were interviewed were family members of the children, and they were like, I mean, I'd noticed marks all over their bodies, like they were being beaten.
And no one said anything?
Like,
the second I see a mark on my kid, I would have been like, what the actual hell?
This was like, I mean, way back when they were like, I mean, you can hit a kid. And they didn't know how to handle these children. The families would be like, I can't take care of them myself. And then they'd go up. At one point, one guy was talking about how his brother was there. And he was the oldest kid, but he was like 13. And he was Puerto Rican. And
so he was able to like figure out what's going on.
So his mom was like, I found all these marks on our son, or not our son, but my son, and she said to the oldest kid, go ask the doctor, like, what's going on? What would warrant these marks on my child? And he said that he asked a doctor. He's this 13-year-old Puerto Rican kid who's talking to an adult white male who's a doctor, and he said the doctor told him to shut up and just left. I'm sure that doctor was overworked and, like, I'm dealing with this the best I can.
And maybe just a little racist.
But, like, holy shit. So that's what these people were dealing with was, I can't handle him myself. This is the only institution around. I don't know what else to do, pretty much. But one woman was saying that she noticed, like, she'd have to cut all of her daughter's hair off because they weren't keeping her hair up. It was just, like, snarled and everywhere and gross.
Oh, God.
So she'd just cut it all off, and she'd be like, and her fingers would stick together because they weren't washing her fingers. And she's like, she said she developed a smell about her because they just weren't washing the children. So these kids are in horrible environments.
That's disgusting.
There's,
there are two people that it's like children and the elderly.
like,
It's like these people can't take care of themselves. And you're here to take care of them.
and I don't know. It's horrible. So this is a haunted bitch.
I'll say, do I claim to be a healthcare provider that is in charge of these people? Do I claim to be a child caring or geriatric, like, doctor? No. But am I a human who...
But should people have baths on the reg?
Should especially children who are not able to do it themselves, and the elderly, like, that's a sidebar. Right now we're talking about children, but also elderly.
But, so, okay. Anyway, horrible treatment of these children. It was bad. It was shut down.
Horrible.
Robert Kennedy shut that shit down.
If that's his name.
I really hope it's Robert. I don't know.
I'm looking
And
at
I
it right now.
need to look him up. So this custodian worked here at this place where they didn't have any supervision on these children. They were just sitting naked kids in a room for hours. Like, you can't tell me that this sick fuck...
You're right.
Yeah,
Robert Kennedy.
Robert Kennedy. You can't tell me that this sick fuck didn't have just access to kids who couldn't explain what happened to them during. So all I'm saying is
shit probably happened.
It's scary. So anyway, the first thing that he was really in trouble for was he picked up 11 kids in a school bus at YMCA, and he just, like, took them. He was just like, hey, kids, you coming for the group thing? And I guess...
The group stuff?
I have no idea how he got 11 kids in a school bus, but I'm assuming he was like, this is for the retreat. And he took 11 kids on a bus. He gave them a meal. The parents were like, where the fuck is my kid? And then he took them to the airport.
Was this for at institution, or is this something else?
No, I don't know how he did this. I just know Wikipedia told me that he took a school bus of kids to the airport, and then he got caught, and they were like, give us these kids back. We'd like to take them back home.
Also, would you like a job taking care of kids who can't take care of themselves?
I think this is a perfect spot for you.
Exactly, this seems like a perfect
You seem to
place.
love children.
His resume is sparkling.
So, the first kid that's attached to this evil dude is called Alice Pereira.
Well, here's the problem: is like I don't know if you actually spelt it right.
It's Alice. She vanished in 1972. He was a suspect in it. I don't really know why. They just kind of questioned him, like, what were you doing that day, bus driver, kidnapper man? What's up with you? How's being a fucking creepo? How's that going for you? In 1981, Holly Ann Hughes, it said that she was out with a friend. She was little. She was a little girl who was told to go to the store to get soap or whatever. And then he pulled up in the car, grabbed her, and took off in the car. And the witnesses were like, we saw Rand just take off with her. And then he was convicted of that in 2004. So
recent.
That took a while.
Yeah, that took a while. Shit.
1983, 11-year-old Tahese Jackson. I think I said that right. I'm really sorry if I didn't. She went missing, and Rand was questioned for her disappearance. They didn't convict him on... Disappearance. They didn't convict him on anything but 2 kidnappings. But, I mean, they questioned him because he's a creepy son of a bitch. 1984, Hank Gafforio went missing. He was last seen at a diner with Rand. And then 1987, Jennifer Schwiger. I think Schwiger.
I'm living for you trying to pronounce these people's
I'm really,
names.
really sorry. She was reported missing. She was a little girl. She had Down syndrome. I think this was, the last one had Down syndrome. Rand was the last one seen with her. And then her body was found buried 35 days after she went missing. It was found near a campsite made by Rand that was in the woods near Willowbrook. So, basically...
Coincidence? I think not!
So basically, he is Cropsy. He is living in the woods next to an abandoned mental hospital and stealing children. So, this legend is real. He just doesn't have a hook for a hand because he's not Monkey Boy. But, holy shit.
Well, Monkey Boy had a skeleton hand.
He had a skeleton hand. But anyway, we're going over on time. But I find these very interesting, so I'm going to keep going. We're at an hour.
Oh.
But, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm having fun. I like
this is going to be a long one. Okay. So, this one is called...
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's going to be a long episode because we're talking about things we like.
It's going to be long. This one is... I got my information from Urban Legends Online. The writer of it is called Storyteller.
Storyteller.
I'm assuming that's their handle, their online handle. So, I don't know who their real name is. And then another article called Did the Candy Lady Abduct and Murder Children in Texas by C.R. Berry. So, this one is about the Candy Lady. There is an unknown rural Texas area, and kids start going missing. Mm-hmm. And rumors are that, there's a woman who is leaving candy at children's windowsills.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Like, literally, children, so the rumor is, children wake up in the morning and there's a piece of candy on their windowsill. This is happening in, 1900. Yes, that's right. The 19th century. No. 20th century. Goddamn, fuck
yes.
that. 1900s, 20th century. So they love candy. They never get candy. It's not like us, where we can just buy a candy bar.
I'd look on the windowsill and see a Reese's peanut butter cup, and I'd be like, so what?
So I can go buy 4.
Exactly.
So these kids are like, holy shit. So they don't tell their parents right away that they're getting these unknown candies on their windowsill because they're fucking stoked. And then they start getting notes on the wrappers saying, hey, come play with me. Signed, the Candy Lady. And then kids start going missing. And people are...
I'm sorry.
That was so loud.
I know, I was trying really hard.
So, kids start going missing in this little rural town. People are freaking out, and they start doing this rumor that the Candy Lady is, luring kids out of their houses and killing them, pretty much, is the urban legend. And then the rumor keeps going, saying that a farmer found a candy wrapper of rotten children's teeth. They're all bloody on his property, and he's like, what the hell? Whoo, doggy!
Whoo, boy!
So he called the police, and the police were like, whoo, shit, okay. So they started investigating the area, and they found a child who had his eyes stabbed out with a fork.
Oh my fucking god.
And then his pockets were filled with candy. I have no idea if that actually happened, but holy shit. So, I found a connection with a woman called Clara Crane, who was born in Texas in 1871.
First of all, I like how you're doing your own, mini Living Vicariously, where you're, taking, these urban legends and then pairing them with an actual person.
Yes! So, okay. She married a man named Leonard in 1893, had a daughter named Marcella. The daughter, died in a farming accident. It's the 1800s. Who the hell knows how that happens, but they didn't know shit. The father was around when the daughter died, and he was drunk. So Claire kind of blamed the husband and was like, you should have kept our daughter safe. She was devastated, and then she blamed him. So she poisoned him.
So she killed him.
With caramel, and, killed him real good. And then...
With caramel.
She gave him poison, arsenic caramel, and he was like, nom, nom, these are delicious. Oh, oops, I'm dead. That's Leonard's story. This is a bummer.
He's done.
He's donezo. She was charged with murder, and then she went to a mental asylum.
She organized a asylum-wide rendition of Cell Block Tango.
Cell Block Tango. My note says she was charged for murder and sent to a mental asylum for being batshit. So that's great. She made a doll out of bed sheets and then pretended it was her daughter, Marcella.
Oh, wow.
And the doctors were like, you can get released? Hell yeah. You're fine.
We need to free up this bed and take these sheets back.
Yeah, so the hospital was like overrun with people. She was good enough. So she was released from the hospital in 1899.
She was good enough.
Even though she fucking killed a guy. And then the rumor is people started saying she was released in 1899. Kids started going missing in 1900. So they started going missing like right after she was released in the town that was her hometown. So everyone kind of suspected that she was the candy lady. And they didn't know where she went after she was released. All records of her are gone. But also, one of the articles I read was like, I have no idea if this is really real. So maybe she wasn't a real person and this didn't happen and it's all a fabricated story. I choose to believe that this might have maybe happened.
My narrative is...
And it's very creepy and keeps me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the last one I'm going to tell you about are black-eyed kids. Have you ever heard of black-eyed kids?
It's like vampire kids, aren't they?
No.
Okay, then no.
So no. I mean, like, they have black eyes in their children, so you're close. You're halfway there.
Demons.
Demons. I got my information from Wikipedia and
.org.
The article Black-Eyed Children.
.gov.
From mythology.net. Thank you. So, oh God. They are creatures that look like children, but aren't children. They are between the ages of 6 to 16. They are seen as hitchhikers or panhandlers, and they basically come up to your door and they ask if you can let them in.
I'd be like, fuck off.
Fuck you. Get out of here.
I'd say that to a 6-year-old.
Fuck off.
I'd call the police on that little bitch.
So, okay, Wikipedia was like, the stories of these children have been around since the 1950s, and everyone else was like, no. They first started in 1996, where some journalist wrote like a creepy story about them, and then all of a sudden people were like, oh yeah, I had one. I had an experience with black-eyed children.
Hee-haw, hee-haw.
So, I mean, I totally believe in paranormal shit.
First of all, you look at that little bitch and he's got black eyes. Why the fuck?
So,
would you ever?
I will tell you their characteristics.
You got those great sclera lenses?
Yeah. So they knock on doors, windows, and ask you to let them in. They're pale with light-colored hair. Some stories tell you they're wearing modern clothes. Some say they wear old-fashioned clothes. So they wear sunglasses and have long bangs so they can conceal their eyes. And then... Even
more suspicious.
I know, right? And then they travel in pairs. So the one is older, like pretty old, like probably there's a 16-year-old and then they're probably like a 6-year-old, like old and young. When you see them, people receive like a visceral reaction of just dread, like inside. You just are like, no, I don't like it. Usually the older child is the one that talks to you and asks you if you can let them in, while the younger one is kind of quiet and shy and maybe sullen. They ask politely if they can be let in. Lights are known to flicker and power outages kind of happen when they're around, kind of stating that they have like they
supernatural energy.
They radiate abilities. One lady said she actually let the kids in and she experienced nosebleeds and developed advanced skin cancer afterward, which is the same as someone being exposed to massive radiation. So the first recorded account is by Brian Bethel, a reporter who wrote about them in like a Texas paranormal mailing list thing. Mm-hmm. And then people started talking about him. And then I copy and pasted a little story if you want to hear.
Yes, I would like
one
to
of the
hear
accounts.
It. We're already over an hour, so why
it doesn't
not?
matter. I took it from 16 Terrifying Encounters with Black-Eyed Kids by Chrissy Stockton.
There's a whole 16.
They're pretty good. Okay, so the story. I was writing...
He's not.
Thank you. I was riding the bus back home from work. It was about 1 a.m. I'm a security guard and often work odd hours. So I'm sitting there, and this guy gets on and sits across from me. He's wearing a suit, had a briefcase, regular-looking guy in his 20s. What struck me about him at first was he was chewing a cigar, not smoking it. You can't smoke on the bus. So I'm looking at him while he's staring out the window and chewing his cigar, and all of a sudden he turned and looked at me. His eyes were pitch black, just as you described. My heart started beating like a mad motherfucker. I felt my... I'm sorry.
I felt my dick fall off.
So what I directly got from the thing is I felt my gorge rising.
What the fuck?
I do not think that is what he meant.
Penis?
I don't think he meant what he said.
Gorge?
My gorge. I think he meant something else, like maybe bile? I don't know. But he did not get a hard dick. But I read it and laughed really hard.
I was like, penis.
So, okay, sorry. I felt my something rising, my gorge. I was starting to panic, and I had no idea why. I was just pants-shittingly terrified of this guy.
Feeling of disgust or resentment.
Oh, shit. So this guy's like a...
One's gorge rising.
Charles Dickens over here.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he was talking about his penis.
Using those ACT... That's clearly where our minds are.
We're horrible.
He actually is using, like, a real word, and we're like, what the hell?
Penis.
Oh, my God. Anyway.
Then he grinned at me. His teeth were all covered in tobacco bits and brown juice, the cigar clamped between them. I almost screamed, but instead I had the presence of mind to just get up and take the seat right behind the driver. I calmed down a bit after that, but I kept an eye on the guy. He ended up chatting with some girl that got on. They were talking when I got off. I later convinced myself that he was just trolling me, having fun with a pair of contacts. Now I wonder. So, that's one of the stories they have online, if you ever want to look them up. I looked him up when I heard about him because I was like, holy shit!
Well, 20s, that seems a little too old. You said they're like 6 through 16.
16. You can be an old-looking 16-year-old.
True.
But, I don't know. I found it very interesting just because, like, that was just the shortest one I could find. Mm-hmm. There's some other really cool ones where, like, a
real
lady...
shit happens.
Like, she's gonna let out her dog in the morning, and she goes to the door, and the dog starts acting weird, and then she looks out the peephole, and there's 2 kids standing there, and she doesn't, like, open the door or anything, and the 2 kids are like, can you let us in? Like, talking to her.
Through the door?
And she's like, holy shit, and she, like, walks away, and they start getting really angry at her because they didn't let her in. It's pretty creepy. I don't know, if you don't believe it, that's totally fine, because most people don't. But I do, and I find it very interesting. Mm-hmm. So, if you want to look it up, you can totally look it up.
It reminds me of the movie, Let the Right One In.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a movie about that.
Cool. Well,
I don't know if it's about the black-eyed children, but it's called Let the Right One In, and it's a horror movie.
They did make a movie, or at least they made a Kickstarter to make a black-eyed kid movie. I don't know if that's the same one we're talking about, but...
Probably not.
Anyway, Logan, do you want to tell the sibling story since we're way over time?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to talk about a sibling story.
To lighten the mood. Okay.
Oh, God. So, anyway, I feel like I told this one.
Did we tell this one?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay, shit. I actually think we did now, too.
Honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I think we told this one.
Okay, well...
give me a quick second. Oh, you tell, because I told like the last 2 or 3.
Okay.
You told one last. Tell us Savoy.
Okay. So...
We've been referencing it so many times, we may as well.
So we went to Ireland once with our choir group, and it was a harrowing experience, let me tell you. There was a lot of development, a lot of, character development there.
It really was. Like, I feel like I haven't been close. I feel like I've never been closer to you than in that moment.
So, we were at this, I don't know, our choir went to this bar, and I couldn't find Logan anywhere. And he's a big gay dude. I was just really worried that someone just beat the shit out of you. I don't know why.
When she said big gay dude, she also did not take into account that I'm a big gay dude.
200 pounds, 6-foot man.
And that will come up.
And I literally was, very worried because I hadn't seen him in a long time.
Meanwhile,
that someone just beat the shit out of my brother.
Meanwhile, I was doing the thing that a lot of people do at bars, and I was just talking with my friends
fun.
and having fun, and just kind of chatting with people in the group and stuff like that, and making rounds. But I did not take into account that McCall
doesn't
did
have
not
fun
doesn't
and doesn't talk
she
to
doesn't
people
well,
at
I mean,
bars.
she doesn't like those people. She's not like that, and so I should have been paying more attention to that and should have been more
So
cognizant of that.
I finally find Logan, and he is. I feel like you were pretty ripped.
Oh, I was good. I
You
was
were
feeling
very
good.
drunk.
I was feeling good.
I was not drunk. I was just angry. And I was pissed at you, and I started ignoring you, and you were like, "Oh, are you mad at me?" Which is the worst way to handle that.
I remember that's exactly what I did, and I think I just made things worse, but...
So I started ignoring you, and then we were walking with the group, and Logan's like, "McCall's angry at me right now, and she doesn't even want to talk to me." And I could hear you, and I was like spitting fire. I was
Flames on the side of my face.
So we get to an event that we were all going to sing at called the Savoy, which is a hotel. We were all there. It was like a big thing. And Logan is trying to talk to me about why I'm so fucking pissed at him. And I just can't even... So we're having this weird... Like, you know when you yell at people and you go like this
But, like,
and you're talking with your mouth shut and you're like, fuck you.
What is going on, McCall? What is happening? Like,
And-
why are you so upset?
This girl in our group was like, maybe you guys should go talk outside.
Well, because apparently in our, like, conversation, we had gotten a little more heated and a little louder, especially me.
Pissed.
And we turned and literally everyone in the restaurant was staring at us.
It was very uncomfortable.
We both, like, looked and we were like,
We gotta
okay,
go.
we gotta go. And we went downstairs.
So we left. I'm going back to our...
We called a cab.
We called the cab so we go back to where the
And
choir
McCall
was staying.
McCall was silent.
I was silent in the cab. Because I didn't want to scream at you in the cab.
Yeah, the whole cab
that
ride.
poor cabbie was like...
He was trying to talk with us, and we were just, both of us were just like...
weirdly, like, silent. He drops us off. Our choir was allowed to stay at this college campus. He drops us off really far away from the college campus, so we had to walk all the way across this big, long bridge. It was a long walk back. And we just... No one's around.
Back up to the Savoy. That's where the 6 foot tall, 200-pound man
okay.
came up.
You say that.
Because that's when Courtney was like, "Hey, maybe you guys should go outside." Because I was like, "McCall, I was fine. I'm a 6 foot tall, 200-pound man. I'd be fine." And then that's when Courtney was like, "Maybe you guys
gotta
should go outside."
So we get back, we're walking back, and no one's around, so we're both just yelling at each other, having a good old Ireland fight.
Yep.
And then the dam breaks, and we're like, "I'm so sorry."
We sat at a fountain and cried.
It was great. And then we were fine.
Yep.
And then it was fine.
And then I stuck by McCall the rest of the trip because I was like, there ain't nobody here who's gonna stick by me like her. So I was like, I love everyone. I love everyone in the chorus, but she's my sister. You know, I was like,
Yeah. So
she's gonna stick by me through thick and thin, and I got to make sure that she's okay.
I don't think that you're dead in an alley.
Exactly, and I would hate for her to feel like that again. So I was like, well, here we go, and I did everything I could to, like, from that point on, to include McCall in the things that my friends and I did.
So that was good.
We had a good time.
It was fun. But yeah, so that was the Savoy. You'll hear I'm a 200-pound, 6 foot man a bunch.
Pretty frequently.
It's great.
It's great. It was a moment. It was a wrinkle in time.
It's a wrinkle in time.
It's great.
So, if you want to follow us for more funny sibling stories or creepy, scary stories, or if you want to tell me a creepy, scary story,
Or if you want to tell me what horror movies I should watch.
if you've ever experienced a black-eyed kid, send us an email, god damn it. But yeah, so email and Tumblr and Instagram, all Living Vicariously.
And the Facebook.
And the Facebook, Living Vicariously.
The only one that's different,
Is Twitter, which is Live Vicarious. So,
because they really couldn't handle that extra LY.
yes. And our website is livingvicariously at wordpress.com or .wordpress.com or whatever. But
WordPress. So if you don't have iTunes, you can listen to it there. I've had a lot of people ask us.
and on Castbox. It's on Castbox.
And Castbox.
Which is something you can listen to if you don't have an iTunes
Yes.
iPod, iPhone.
If you're one of the weird people out there that doesn't have an Apple thing.
I don't. So I listen to things on
so
Castbox.
if you're like McCall and you're a weirdo,
Listen on Castbox.
I have my iPhone and my iPod on my MacBook and
I stuff.
Exactly.
So please listen to us and comment and like and subscribe.
And also comment, because
just
McCall...
tell us stuff. I just
crazy.
look for,
McCall wants
interaction.
validation.
Yeah. But anyway, Logan, take us home. Boo.